Bring up a mic. We need to make sure we have audio.
Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Virtual microphone check 1 2 1 2. Thank you. Microphone check. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. More aux. Microphone check 1 2 1 2 3.
He wants to wait in the green room. It's right across from Depot. And I'll try to intercept this. Literally right across the room she's 12. Well, and I can come let y'all know before seven. And hey, Will, do you want me to
Ladies and gentlemen, I think I don't need to ask you to take your seats, but my job is to call the room to order. I am Will Inboden, Executive Director of the Clements Center for National Security, a faculty member at the LBJ School in the Department of History here. Honored to be one of your co-hosts for today. And of course, it is a particularly special occasion as we have a true icon of the last century and the current century here with us today, who we'll be hearing from momentarily. Speaking of icons, it is my real privilege to introduce President Jay Hartzell, who makes all of this possible for any of us working on international policy and history and statecraft here at UT. And amidst his very busy week, President Hartzell has very graciously agreed to come up and do a formal welcome for President Walesa. So Jay, come on up.
Thank you very much, Will. It's a pleasure to see you tonight and to be out here tonight. I will say that Will's introductions to me got much nicer once he started reporting to me, but I will take it. People ask often, when I was a professor and back when I really enjoyed my job, they would ask, what's great about being a professor? What do you like? And to me, it's the people and the ideas. And you think about what's special about being in a university environment, you can be around really interesting, smart, talented people and be around the exchange of ideas, and ideas that are often in many ways important to the world around us. And tonight is one of those things that I feel like in a place where it's a night about people and ideas. In this case, it's important people and important ideas. So I want to say thanks to Will for all of his efforts in leading the Clements Center. We're very grateful for all that you do. Over the last 140 years or so, there have been a handful of people, or probably more, on campus whom I would consider world historical figures. And here are just a few examples. On June 11th, 1936, President Roosevelt broke ground for the Texas Memorial Museum with a few sticks of dynamite. On March 9th, 1962, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at the Texas Union. On September 21st, 2005, the Dalai Lama filled the Irwin Center. And history will remember that on May 5th, 2022, the University of Texas hosted the man whose appearance on the world stage proved to be the beginning of the end of the Soviet Union, Lech Walesa. So tonight's event is in that league. It's that big of a deal. And I think we all can sense the joy in the room of the chance to be together. So let me first say to President Walesa, welcome to Texas. Texas, having once been an independent nation, we in some ways consider UT to be a national university. We're so honored to host you and have you here, and hope you thoroughly enjoy your time in the beautiful city of Austin. And we'll hear in a moment from our Polish club president, Nathan Silverstein. Lech Walesa was present at the creation of freedom in Eastern Europe and was the catalyst for the chain reaction that set that region free. Those of us who grew up in the Cold War, which seemed so intractable and scary, could barely believe our eyes when it came seemingly so suddenly to an end. But as we all know, we sit here tonight in the comfort of this calm and beautiful place, but it feels like in many ways peace is gone and freedom in Europe hangs in the balance once again. Many think the UT motto is what starts here changes the world. That's our slogan, and one we believe with all our hearts. But our motto was chosen by a classics professor, William Battle, and approved by the Regents in 1905. And it translates from Latin as, a cultivated mind is the guardian genius of democracy. That was a favorite saying of Texas President Marabou Lamar. A cultivated mind is the guardian genius of democracy. The Texas Declaration of Independence laments the dictatorship of Santa Anna in this way. It has failed to establish any public system of education, although possessed of almost boundless resources. And although it is an axiom in political science that unless a people are educated and enlightened, it is idle to expect the continuance of civil liberty or the capacity for self-government. So there it is, a link. No education, no democracy. They call it an axiom of political science, and I think we can also see that it's common sense. That's why tonight is so poignant. President Walesa and the University of Texas are both in the democracy business. Freedom rests on democracy, democracy rests on education. something we should think about as we listen to his thoughts tonight. I'm especially proud that UT is home to so many of the sponsor organizations tonight, and I want to single out the Clements Center, who work centers on these two key ideas, education and freedom, and how they overlap. So thank you again for being here, and thank you again, President Walesa, and welcome to the University of Texas at Austin.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Nathan Silverstein. I'm the founder and president of the Polish Club at the University of Texas at Austin. This event is being recorded and will be posted on the Polish Club's website, www.texaspolishclub.com. I want to thank our co-sponsors and some individuals who helped make this event possible. Mr. Adam Dominski, Chief of Staff at the Lech Walesa Institute, Mr. Paweł Hardy, for introducing the Polish Club to President Walesa and for translating tonight, Dr. William Inboden, Dr. Paul Edgar, and Ms. Elizabeth Dowdy at the Clements Center for National Security, Dr. Mark Music at Liberal Arts Honors, Dr. Sonia Feigenbaum at Texas Global, Dr. Mary Newberger at the Center for Russian, East European, and Eurasian Studies, Dr. Douglas Biao at the Center for European Studies, Dr. Daniel Brinks at the Department of Government, the McCombs Department of Business, Government, and Society, and Mr. Eric Opiella. We have with us tonight a man who changed history, a man who helped free almost 300 million people from communist misery and hopelessness, a man who, though he was just an electrician from the gritty Gdańsk shipyards, had something you cannot teach: the courage to fight back. That man is the first president of Poland and Nobel Peace Prize winner, Lech Walesa. President Walesa was born in Popowo, German-occupied Poland, in 1943. In 1967, he began work at what was then called the Lenin Shipyards in Gdańsk. However, it was only on August 14th, 1980, that President Walesa was thrust into the world spotlight. That day, there was a strike at the Gdańsk shipyards over increased food prices. The shipyard workers had locked themselves inside the shipyard gates. But President Walesa, who was away from the shipyard that day, returned and famously jumped the fence and assumed leadership of the strike. With that leap of faith, President Walesa started the movement that would lead to the fall of the Soviet Empire. Emboldened by President Walesa, a national upheaval followed, and the 1980 strikes spread across Poland. President Walesa negotiated with the Polish Communist government on behalf of the workers of 20 plants. On August 31st, the government granted the Gdańsk shipyard workers the right to strike and to form an independent trade union. They created the National Coordinating Committee of the Solidarity Free Trade Union, known as Solidarity. The Solidarity movement quickly grew and soon had over 10 million members, meaning 1 in every 4 Poles was a member. But the communist government feared things had gone too far. On December 13th, 1981, they imposed martial law. President Walesa and many other Solidarity leaders were imprisoned without trial for nearly a year. A further blow came in 1982, when Solidarity was officially outlawed. The next year, President Walesa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Despite this great honor, he refused to leave Poland to accept it, fearing the Polish government would not let him back in. Mrs. Walesa accepted it for him instead. Finally, Solidarity reemerged when the Polish government agreed to negotiations in 1989. President Walesa led the non-government side. The government agreed to Solidarity's reestablishment and to semi-free elections. Solidarity went on to win all but 1 seat in the upper and lower houses of parliament. On December 9th, 1990, President Walesa won the Polish presidential election, becoming Poland's first freely elected head of state in 63 years, and the first ever Polish head of state elected by popular vote. As president, he oversaw Poland's transition to a free market liberal democracy, and in 1991, Poland's first fully free parliamentary elections. President Wałęsa successfully negotiated the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Poland and was a major proponent of Poland joining NATO and the EU. In 1995, President Wałęsa founded the Lech Walesa Institute. Its mission is to, quote, popularize the achievements of Polish solidarity, educate young generations, promote democracy, and build civil society in Poland and around the world. Tonight, President Wałęsa will deliver a speech entitled Russia's War on Ukraine and its Global Impact. As the man who led a successful revolution against Russia, President Wałęsa brings unique insights on the current crisis. President Wałęsa will speak for 60 to 70 minutes. Part of that time will be dedicated to a moderated discussion led by Dr. William Inboden, Executive Director of the Clements Center. Mr. Paweł Hardy, prominent Austin architect, father of Polish club officer Isabella Hardy, and one of the people most responsible for making this event happen, will have the honor of translating for President Wałęsa this evening. Finally, special limited edition books individually autographed by President Wałęsa are on sale in the reception area for $100. All proceeds will go towards supporting the Polish Club at UT and its events. There will also be a photo line for pictures with President Wałęsa after the speech. Because of time constraints for our use of the room and to try to manage what otherwise might be hours of photos, we are prioritizing people who have purchased a book for photos with President Wałęsa. Also, based on how President Wałęsa feels, we may cut off photos at any time. There will be a professional photographer taking photos at the photo line. Those professional photos will be available in a few days on the Polish Club's website, free of charge. We will now watch a 5-minute video highlighting President Wałęsa's greatest accomplishments.
Lech Walesa was born in central Poland in the 4th year of World War II. He was one of 7 children. After attending a vocational school of agriculture, he served in the army for 2 years. A corporal by rank, several decades later he would be commander of the Polish armed forces. At the age of 24, Wałęsa started to work as an electrician at the Lenin shipyard in Gdańsk. In December 1970, mass-scale workers' protests erupted on the Polish Baltic coast. Lech Walesa was a member of the strike committee in the Gdańsk shipyard. In Gdańsk, Gdynia and Szczecin, workers took to the streets. The communist police opened fire on them. Over 50 people were killed and some 1,000 wounded. The protests led to changes at the top. The new first secretary of the Communist Party came to the Gdańsk shipyard to meet the workers. Lech Walesa was elected to the executive of the official state-controlled trade unions, but the Communist Party did not want independently minded people. 5 years later, Lech Walesa was fired from his job in the shipyard. He engaged himself in the formation of illegal trade unions and the publishing of the underground bulletins. He co-organized demonstrations to mark anniversaries of the events of December 1970. He was among the organizers of the historic strike of August 1980 and became its leader. In the wake of an agreement signed with the communists, an independent trade union was established as the first such union in the Soviet bloc. The Solidarity movement was born. At the union's founding congress, Lech Walesa was elected Solidarity chairman. But the communist regime had no plans to tolerate an independent social movement for long. In December 1981, authorities used the tanks to crush Solidarity's revolution. About 15,000 people were imprisoned and interned in the martial law crackdown. Lech Walesa was interned for almost a year. The movement was given a new lease on life as an underground organization. Lech Walesa was again in the forefront of the peaceful struggle. In 1983, Lech Walesa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. It was collected on his behalf by his wife Danuta and oldest son Bogdan. In the second half of the 1980s, Wałęsa was officially referred to in Polish media as a private citizen, remaining under constant police surveillance. In practice, he was the unquestionable leader of the opposition movement. He set up an informal citizens committee, the brain trust of the opposition. In 1989, Lech Walesa was one of the architects of the historic Round Table Agreements, which marked the beginning of the collapse of communism in Central and Eastern Europe. Partially free elections were one of the effects of the Round Table talks. A snapshot with Lech Walesa was a ticket to parliament for Solidarity candidates who won all the seats they were allowed to contest. In 1988, Lech Walesa became the third foreigner to address the US Congress.
My, naród. We, the people.
In 1990, in a national ballot, Lech Walesa was elected President of Poland. He made many foreign trips during his 5-year term, meeting the world's leading politicians and personalities. In 2004, Poland and 9 other post-communist countries of Central and Eastern Europe joined the European Union. Lech Walesa represented the 10 new member states during the accession ceremony in Strasbourg. In October 2008, Walesa was invited to join a 12-member-strong think tank of the European Union known as the Wise Men Group. It deals with pertinent issues of our time, such as globalization, climate change, migrations, and the labor market. Today, Lech Walesa remains active in Poland as well as abroad. He is involved in various key issues of our time, especially youth. On the basis of his life experience, he wants to make them ready to tackle the challenges of the future.
Please join me now in the great honor of welcoming President Lech Walesa.
Dziękuję. Kłaniam się Państwu i bardzo dziękuję, że tak licznie przybyliście na to spotkanie.
I am really humbled and I have tears in my eyes seeing you guys, so many people today and that visited for this special event.
Mam wiele spraw, które chciałbym z Wami poruszyć.
There's so many different subjects I would really like to discuss with you tonight.
Zamierzam, by to spotkanie trwało ponad godzinę,
My plan was for this meeting to last more than an hour.
a więc zabieram Wam godzinę z życia,
So I'm going to take an hour out of your lives.
więc abyśmy nie żałowali tej godziny.
And I hope you're never going to regret that you invested an hour with me.
Ale chciałbym, żebyśmy to spotkanie luźno potraktowali.
But I really want this presentation to be very loosely managed.
Komu jest za gorąco, niech zdejmie
If
koszulę.
anybody too hot, please take your coat off like I will.
Czujcie się jak u siebie w domu, tylko pod warunkiem, że bez sprzątania.
And by the way, you guys can feel like you're at home, but you don't have to clean after yourself.
Jak wiecie, Polska leży w środku Europy,
As you probably know, Poland is situated in the center of Europe.
więc ze wszystkich stron Polska była doświadczana.
So Poland was experiencing all kinds of things from all its sides.
Inni robili interesy różne, a my musieliśmy doświadczać.
Other countries were usually just doing business and we had to experience different experiences.
Z jednej strony Niemcy, a z drugiej strony
On
Rosjanie.
one side Germany, on the other side Russia.
Jak dobrze wiecie, to są takie turystyczno-militarne narody.
As you well know, those countries are kind of tourism, military, I don't know how to explain it, countries.
Oni się nawzajem odwiedzali w historii.
Oh, because they like to visit each other historically.
Ponieważ technologia była prosta, no to wybierali najkrótszą drogę przez Polskę.
Yeah, and because travel technology was very simple, they usually just picked the worst route, which was leading through Poland.
No i często zatrzymywali się na dłużej.
And sometimes they would stop by for longer.
Musieliśmy wyrzucać.
So we had to kick them out.
Więc przetrenowaliśmy różnego typu wyrzucanie.
So we were practicing different types of kicking people out, different
Po
methods.
II wojnie światowej zamontowali się Sowieci na dłużej.
Yeah, after Second World War, Russians came in, Soviets came in and settled for much longer.
Narzucili nam system polityczny i ekonomiczny.
They forced upon us an economical and political system of their own.
Wielu z was poznało Polaków.
I'm sure many of you met Poles in your lives.
Musieliście zauważyć, że gdzie dwóch Polaków, to trzy zdania.
You probably noticed when the two Poles are walking, usually they have three different opinions.
A nam narzucili jedną.
And they were trying to enforce us a one opinion. How is that going to work?
Więc nie
right?
przyjęliśmy to i wciąż próbowaliśmy zrzucić.
So we did not accept it, and we were always trying to overthrow that idea.
Stalin się wyśmiewał, jak udało mu się narzucić, że system polityczny sowiecki na Polaku leży jak końskie siodło na świnie założone.
Oh, there's no way I'm going to translate that, but I'll try. So Stalin was saying that the communist system is going to fit Poles like a saddle on a cow, like a horse saddle on a cow or something like that. It's just not going to fit.
Po co ja państwu to mówię?
Why am I telling you all of that?
Otóż takie przygotowanie, takie przeszkolenie nauczyło nas wyczuwać szanse na rozwój, ale i na niebezpieczeństwa.
The reason I'm telling you that is because through all those experiences, Poles have a very different sense of sensing tragedy and things about to happen. So we have something that is hard to explain, and other people should notice
My
that.
przed II wojną światową ostrzegaliśmy świat,
Well before the start of Second World War, we were warning the entire world that is coming,
ale świat nie słuchał.
but the world was not listening to
My
us.
nie będziemy ginąć za Gdańsk.
Nobody wanted to go and fight for Gdańsk.
Dopiero jak wojna doszła do Londynu, do Paryża, to sobie przypomniano ostrzeżenia
Yeah,
polskie.
but as soon as the World War II came into Paris and then on the footsteps of London, everybody woke up and reminded themselves they
Podobnie
need to do
było na
something
koniec
about it.
wojny. Podobnie było na koniec wojny.
Oh, it was the
światowej.
same at the end of the war.
Narzucono nam system
Yeah,
komunistyczny.
somebody thrown a new system upon us. It was a communist system.
Mimo, że walczyliśmy na wszystkich frontach.
And we were fighting on all the fronts around the world.
Ale znów mówię tu Państwu tylko dlatego, że dzisiaj też wyczuwamy, jeśli chodzi o przyszłość, szanse i zagrożenia.
And the reason I'm telling you all of this today, because as Poles, we sense the same type of anxiety today and something is happening.
Chciałbym, abyście tym razem nas wysłuchali
But this time, we really urge you all to listen to us.
i o tym będę mówił Państwu.
And that's what I want to talk about tonight.
Także bogata historia kraju, ale i Polski.
Poland has a very rich history of its own country and people.
Pięknie nam się wspólnie udało zrzucić komunizm i Związek Sowiecki,
We were very fortunate to get rid of communism in the Soviet Union.
ale robiliśmy to po to, by inaczej świat urządzić.
But the reason there was a purpose in doing that is because we wanted a new world to be organized on a new foundation.
W tamtym czasie Stany Zjednoczone było jako imperium dobra.
Back in the day, in those times, United States was considered like the empire of good.
Związek Sowiecki, komunizm, imperium zła.
Of course, the Soviet Union empire was considered the empire of bad.
Podział był prosty, role podzielone.
So the division was very simple and everybody knew their roles.
Zawsze Stany Zjednoczone w tamtym czasie były ostatnią deską ratunku dla świata, jeśli coś się źle działo.
Yeah, so back in the day, if something wrong was happening, everybody would consider United States as the last resort you can go to.
No ale po tym
For help.
zlikwidowaniu tego podziału trzeba by nowa rola dla Stanów Zjednoczonych przypadła.
Yeah, but when this division was dismissed, well, what's the new role for United States? And it seems like it was disappearing.
W tamtym czasie przewodziliście militarnie, ekonomicznie i politycznie.
Back in the day, you were leading both militarily, economically, and politically.
Dziś trzeba koniecznie, by Stany przewodziły, ale trochę inaczej.
Now we want United States to lead the world, but in a little bit different way.
Nie za wszystkich załatwiać sprawy,
You don't have to do work for all the other people around the
nie
world.
płacić dolarami,
You don't have to pay for all of their costs,
a organizować
but you need to organize them.
do różnych zadań.
But you need to give them new ideas, new missions.
Nawet i ta sytuacja, która dzisiaj jest z Ukrainą,
And the situation with Ukraine today, let's talk
no, ona
about it.
wymaga organizacji.
It needs a different organization.
A kto ma to zrobić?
And who's supposed to do that?
W walce Polska miała główną rolę,
In the war, Poland had a meaningful role.
no ale już w urządzeniu świata, no to rola Polska jest za słaba, za mała,
But
za
in,
biedna.
but in rebuilding the world in the future, Poland is just too small and too weak to take on the challenge.
Dlatego musimy zrobić wszystko, by Stany odzyskały swoją wiodącą rolę w każdej dziedzinie.
So that's why we have to do anything possible for the United States to regain its leading role in the world.
Dziś mamy wielki problem z Ukrainą, ale gdyby wyskoczyło jeszcze coś podobnego,
Okay, so we have a big problem with Ukraine today, but imagine we have another similar problem come up in the world now somewhere else.
nikt nie zapanuje nad światem.
Nobody will be able to control it at that time.
Dlatego znów takie rozmowy mają służyć, w jaki sposób wspólnie odzyskać przywództwo Stanów.
So meetings like this and discussions at places like this should really stimulate that conversation about how United States needs to regain its leadership in the world.
Przyszło nam żyć, kiedy zmieniają się epoki.
So all of us are alive now in kind of in between very different
Wy możecie tego nie
times.
zauważyć, wielki kraj,
Every day in a big country like this, you may not notice the changes that are taking
ale w
place around the
Europie to
world.
widać.
But in Europe, it's actually very visible.
Już z myślenia państwo, kraj musimy przejść na większe zorganizowanie.
In Europe, for example, from the whole concept of focusing on smaller countries and smaller regions, we have to start thinking more globally.
Kiedy nasi pradziadowie wymyślili rower i trochę technologii, to z różnych osad dzielnie zrobili państwa, kraje w Europie.
When our ancestors were inventing all kinds of very simple technologies, bicycles and so forth, they were able to use all those technologies locally for their own benefit of their own local
I
communities.
to zorganizowanie wytrzymało do końca XX wieku.
And
w
that
Europie.
system of kind of local organization was working pretty well until the end of 20th century.
My w międzyczasie wymyśliliśmy różne bariery,
In the meantime, we have invented all kinds of gadgets,
samoloty, komputery.
airplanes, computers,
Ta technologia wymaga większych zorganizowań.
but that type of technology needs a much bigger audience and organization.
Państwo, kraj to za mało do tej technologii.
Yeah, a small country and a small nation, it's not enough to take advantage of all those technologies.
Jak widzicie, w Europie zdjęliśmy granicę prawie całej.
As you know, in the European Union, we removed the borders between the countries.
Mój ojciec zginął w wojnie.
My father was killed during the war.
Gdybym mógł dzisiaj z nim pogadać,
If I could only talk to him today,
powiedzieć, tato, ty
Dad.
walczyłeś
you were fighting for Poland,
o granicę Polski,
for Polish borders,
a ja, twój syn, zdejmuję granicę.
and me, your son, I'm removing those borders.
Między Polską a Niemcami nie ma granicy.
So
nie ma
there's no
żołnierzy.
border between Germany and Poland, and there's no soldiers standing there.
Dostałby zawału serca, drugi raz zmarł.
He probably would have a heart attack and he would die for the second time.
Jak może nie być granicy? Nie pilnujecie
He
granicy.
said, what are you doing? You're removing borders. You're not watching Poland's borders?
Technologia wymaga, by rzeczywiście zdjąć granicę.
Well, the technology today allows us to remove those borders.
Bo jak znosić granicę, kiedy między państwami jest różnica w rozwoju?
But how are you supposed to remove countries' borders where there's such tremendous economical differences between various
Kiedy
countries?
wiele krzywdy sobie wyrządziliśmy,
Where we have suffered from each other and caused so much grievances
a
over the
ludzie
times.
zachowują się jak zbiorniki z wodą.
And people simply behave like big tanks full of water.
Jak jest różnica różnego typu rozwoju, to jest wodospad Niagara. Widzieliście?
If you have two tanks and the water level is unequal, then what's going to happen? You have like a Niagara Falls reaction.
Jak nie ma różnicy, to nic się nie dzieje.
But where the two tanks are pretty equal, this whole system is going to be more
Więc
stable.
wiemy, że musimy powiększyć struktury, zdjąć granicę. No tak, tylko jak to zrobić?
So we know we need to remove borders, we need to open up our minds, but how are we supposed to do that?
Dla mnie rewolucjonisty postawiono 3 takie pytania.
So me as a revolutionary, I was always posed with those three questions
jeśli chodzi o tą nową epokę.
about this new age.
Pierwsze wielkie pytanie dla was szczególnie, a i dla nas też.
The first big question for you and for us,
Jaki fundament położyć pod tą nową epokę?
what kind of foundation are we supposed to lay for this new age?
Każde państwo w Europie ma inny fundament trochę.
Every small country in Europe has its own foundation,
Inną drogę, inną historię,
even a different history, different road,
a nawet religię.
different religions.
Więc pytanie, jak tak postawię pytanie, na różnych spotkaniach pojawiają się dwie koncepcje.
So when I ask those questions at big meetings like this one, people, sometimes I develop two different concepts,
Tego fundamentu właśnie.
how to build that foundation.
Połowa świata chce budować na fundamencie wolności, wolnym rynku i prawie.
So about half of the world wants to build a new foundation on free economy and freedom of movement and liberal ideas.
I to w całym świecie.
And that's around the world, anywhere you
A
go.
druga połowa mówi, nie, to niedobry pomysł.
And the second half is saying, no, it's not the best idea.
Najpierw uzgodnijmy wartości.
First, we have to sit down and declare our own equal values that we all agree on.
Takie 10 laickich przykazań.
Like, for example, like the 10 Commandments.
I dopiero wolny rynek, prawo.
And then we can establish markets to work around
I
it.
nie możemy wyskoczyć z tego podziału.
But we should not be jumping out of all those kind of systems and boundaries that we're going to
To jest
create.
jeden problem.
So this first problem.
Ale jest drugi
But
problem.
then there is a second problem.
A jaki jest system ekonomiczny pod tą nową
So
epokę?
what kind of economic system are we going to build in this future age?
Komunizm nie, ale nie dlatego, że niedobry, tylko on się nie sprawdził nigdzie.
So communism, probably not. And it was a bad system because it just simply didn't work anywhere in the
Więc
world.
odrzucamy.
So we're going to get rid of it.
Ale nie, też nie kapitalizm taki jak dziś jest.
How about capitalism? Do you want really follow the capitalism in its all original form? It's probably not the best system either.
Ten kapitalizm był dobry na państwa, na kraje, na bloku.
That capitalistic system was working when communities or the world was organized into smaller blocks of countries and nations.
Ktoś nazwał wyścig szczurów między państwami.
Yeah, like some people are calling it like rat race between the countries.
Kto, kogo, jak,
Who you're gonna, who's gonna find whom and who's gonna win with
na
whom.
kim zarobić i jak kto
And
oszukać.
play all those games for profits.
Jak teraz robimy coś większego, to koniec wyścigu szczurów.
And now when we're trying to build something bigger, we have to all agree that rat race needs to be over.
Wolny rynek zostaje,
Let's keep the free market,
ale wszystko inne trzeba inaczej
but
ustawić.
everything else should be considered for discussion.
Tam w tym wyścigu szczurów wielu ludzi odpadało, bo nie wytrzymywało tego tempa wyścigu.
Yeah, in the rat race, we're not designed to live in that type of pace, and a lot of us are just failing in that speed.
Szli na bezrobocie.
They get unemployed.
W nowym kapitalizmie musimy wszystkich odszukać i do roboty zagonić.
In the new capitalism, we need to find all those unemployed people and put them back to work.
No niech robią dla nas też.
Let them make something and produce something.
To jest drugi problem, który stoi przed wami szczególnie.
And the next problem that's in front of you.
I trzeci problem, jak sobie poradzić z demagogią, populizmem i oszustwami polityków.
Sorry, now we're jumping into third problem. How are we supposed to deal with demagogues and lies of politicians in the world?
Przy zauważeniu, że do końca XX wieku to każde państwo miało jakoś tak po cichu gdzieś tam z tyłu Pana Boga, różnego.
Okay, so considering that all the countries in the 20th century, like in the background of their ethics and systems, always had religion and some kind of God.
Kiedyś baliśmy się komunizmu Związku Sowieckiego.
Sometimes we were even more afraid of communism than God.
To też był jakiś hamulec.
So this was kind of a break that was stopping us from moving forward.
Odrzuciliśmy to.
But we removed all those breaks.
Jak utrzymać narody? No w jakiś ryzach, żeby, no jednak, żeby to się trzymało.
So how are you supposed to maintain the system with small nations and keep it working all
I
together?
w Europie widać, że wszystkie partie, organizacje nie pasują do tej epoki, które mieliśmy wcześniej.
So now you can see that the new parties that are evolving in Europe and those smaller states are just not matching those older systems and rules and epochs.
Popatrzcie dzisiaj, partie lewicowe są bardziej prawicowe i odwrotnie.
Sometimes the left parties behave right and the right parties are more left than there used to be, decades
A
or
popatrzcie
years
na
ago.
partie chrześcijańskie.
What about Christian Democrats, for
Ani
example?
jednego wierzącego nie mają.
Sometimes they don't have any religious people in them.
No co to jest? To było dobre w tamtym czasie.
Yeah, back in the day, it was really just a different system.
Tylko jedno zorganizowanie mamy nie takie złe.
So one thing is not so bad today, and it's pretty well organized.
Przepisy o ruchu drogowym.
Oh, the street rules, the traffic rules, correct? Traffic laws are
A
working.
tak to świat
everywhere.
wygląda, jakbyśmy zdjęli znaki i przepisy z ulic.
Yeah, so how would the world look if we would remove all the traffic signals and laws?
stare upadły, a nowe nie powstały.
Yeah, if we remove the old rules and we still don't have the new rules, it's going to be a chaos.
A więc nasze pokolenie znalazło się między epokami.
So we are sitting here between two different ages. In
Epoka
between,
państwa, kraje upadła.
yeah, the countries and nations age, which is kind of coming to its own
Na
end.
horyzoncie pojawiła się epoka intelektu, informacji, globalizacji.
And on the horizon, we see the age of globalization, the intellect, the technology,
A my w tym momencie jesteśmy pośrodku.
but we are still in between.
I ja te pośrodku nazwałem epoka słowa,
And I called this very special moment that we're in an age of the word,
epoka dyskusji, jak ten świat ma wyglądać.
the age, the time of discussion
Jaka rola Stanów wiodącej
and
siły.
debate how the world's going to look and what's going to be the leadership role for United States, among other things.
Mamy największą szansę
We have a
jako
big chance in front
w
of us
sztafecie pokoleń
all the times
na pokój, na rozwój, na
for
dobrobyt.
peace, for development,
Ale musimy dokonać poprawek w tych wszystkim, o czym tu mówimy.
but we need to open everything for discussion and make adjustments in all kinds of laws and rules that we ever lived with.
A Stanom Zjednoczonym przypada największa rola.
And of course, the United States gets the biggest responsibility to take on those challenges.
Chciałbym, żeby o naszym pokoleniu powiedziano w historii.
So I really dreamed that our generation would be called later in history would be called something special.
Świetnie walczyli,
Yeah, they were great fighters.
zrzucili
They
komunizm
get rid of communism
pokojowo,
peacefully,
ale rzucili po to, by
But they got it
zbudować
done.
lepszy, mądrzejszy, bogatszy
so we
świat.
can all build a better, more just world for everybody.
Ja już mam prawie 80 lat,
I'm almost 80 years old,
więc już nie nawojuję.
so I can't keep fighting forever.
Zostawiam to wam.
I'm going to leave it to you guys.
Wy zróbcie, a mnie podziękują.
You can do all of that work and then I'm going to get all the credits.
To tyle, co chciałem tytułem wstępu powiedzieć.
So that was just the beginning of my speech.
A teraz chcę uzupełnić to tematy, które was interesują.
Now I want to talk about subjects that are of a lot of interest to you.
Nie ma złych problemów,
We should never be shy of discussing any
nie
topics,
ma
right?
trudnych problemów.
There is no unresolvable problems.
Czym trudniejsze, to lepiej dla mnie i dla was.
If the problem is even more difficult, it's better for you and me
Bo
to have a
wspólnie znajdziemy
discussion,
rozwiązania.
because if we talk, we're going to find some kind of
A ja wtedy
solution.
pójdę na inną salę i będę się popisywał waszą mądrością jako
Oh.
moja.
And then I can move somewhere else and take those ideas and start selling them as mine.
A więc same zyski.
So only profits
Więc
ahead of me.
proponuję trudne tematy, abyśmy się czegoś nauczyli.
So I'm suggesting you guys have some really difficult topics to discuss and
Jeszcze
open
jedna
up.
uwaga, ja nie przyjechałem was pouczać.
I didn't come here really to give you any advice.
Nie przyjechałem wymądrzać się.
I'm not here to just pretend I'm the smartest guy in the room.
To, co mówię, to jest moje zdanie,
What I'm saying is truly what I
do
believe in,
którego jestem przekonany.
what I truly believe in myself and my heart.
Jak je poprawicie, będę się cieszył,
If you're going to support me, I'm going to be very happy.
a jak nie, też będę się cieszył, abyście realizowali.
And if not, I'm going to be happy for you to realize your own dreams.
Udało nam się wiele,
We have accomplished a lot.
ale jeszcze wiele jest przed nami.
But again, as I said, we have tremendous amount of work. ahead of
Zachęcam
us.
do dyskusji, jak nie, to będę monologował.
And I'm advising you guys to have a discussion. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going.
Tylko, że
So-
monolog może być nieciekawy,
So the monologues would be very interesting.
więc zachęcam do ciekawego spotkania.
So I'm advising you to a very interesting meeting.
Pierwszy
and
chętny
discussion.
do dyskusji.
If you want to ask some questions, Nate, right now, would that be appropriate?
Nie ma, to dziękuję, idę do domu.
No. So if no questions, I'm going to go home right away.
O,
So-
dawajcie.
We do have a list of questions. Mamy listę pytań, panie prezydencie.
Słucham?
Mamy listę pytań. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Yeah.
Mikrofon nie chodzi szybko, bo ja chcę jak najwięcej.
Yeah. He said he wants a lot of questions.
Proszę.
Okay. Oh, yes. So, by the way, all the questions were
To, na
prepared by the
kartkach?
students from the university. To są pytania studentów, którzy
Tylko
pisali do pana
ja.
pytania.
Poproszę bez
przygotowywali.
cenzury.
He said, I don't want any censorships in those questions. Hopefully, they're just the way they're written. So.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Dobrze, dawaj.
Yes, as Nate mentioned, we've got a great diversity of people here, a range of ages, but mindful that we are the University of Texas and that our primary mission is educating students and training the next generation of leaders. We've had quite a few of our students submit questions, and so I have the honor of reading those questions. Oh, sorry, I should have given him more time for the translation.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, all right. So anyway, and I can promise, I know you said you welcome candor, but our students are very polite. So these
I
are-
mówi, że nasi studenci są bardzo mili, ale będą szczerzy.
I tak ma być.
Tak ma być. He said that's the way it's supposed to be.
Okay, all right. Our first question comes from Nick Umbrevich, who is the vice president of the Polish club.
Nika Brewicz, który jest wiceprezydentem polskiego klubu, zadaje pytanie.
And he asks, 40 years after the Solidarity movement, how do you assess the movement in history? What is its significance and what can future generations learn from it?
40 lat po Solidarności. Jak pan by ocenił dzisiaj Solidarność? 40 lat, to co żeście osiągnęli i jak inni powinni ją oceniać?
Trzeba zrozumieć czas, zresztą w ogóle umiejscawia wszelkie problemy w czasie i przestrzeni.
Okay, so all those type of questions should be answered in the context of time and space.
Solidarność była możliwa, bo mieliśmy wspólny mianownik.
So solidarity was possible at the time because there was some kind of equal commitment from everybody.
Związek Sowiecki i komunistów był nasz wspólny mianownik.
Yeah, the Soviet Union at that time was our equalizer, like that motivated all of us to work together.
Jedni kochali komunistyczny Związek Sowiecki, inni nienawidzili, ale to był wspólny nasz mianownik.
Yeah, some people of course hated it. Most people, some loved it, but it was something that was getting us motivated.
W liczniku mieliśmy różne interesy,
So in our heads, we had different ideas,
ale łączył nas wspólny mianownik.
but we had the common goal.
No i rozwaliliśmy ten wspólny
It was as
mianownik.
simple as that.
Nie ma komunizmu, nie ma Związku
Yeah,
Sowieckiego.
it was very simple as that. There is no communism, there is no.
Zostały
So-
nas tylko interesy.
So now the only thing that was left was just business. After the communism collapsed, all we were left was just business. decisions.
Solidarność tamtego typu jest, poszła, nie ma jej,
So,
nie może być.
so the solidarity of that type would not be applicable anymore today. and
Chyba,
if
że
you look back,
wymyślicie wspólny mianownik.
unless you're going to decide with some new, you're going to find this new motivator like we had in Soviet
Tak
Union.
należy rozumieć tamte czasy i Solidarność.
So that's how you have to look back at those days and that age in that context.
Stałem na czele Solidarności.
I was the leader of Solidarity
W pewnym
movement.
momencie mówiłem, zwinьmy sztandary Solidarności.
At some point when I was the leader, I actually said, you know, let's stop. Let's roll down our flags. Let's hide them. Let's quiet it
Inaczej się
down.
zorganizujmy, bo może kiedyś będzie trzeba podnieść tamte standardy.
Let's reorganize into something that's going to last longer because maybe at some point in the future we're going to have to rise up again.
Nie posłuchano mnie, zrobiono mnie zdrajcą, agentem,
But they didn't listen to me and they were accusing me in all kinds of lies
że chciałem mądrze poprowadzić.
because I had those ideas.
Następne proszę.
Next question, please.
Okay, all right. Our next question comes from Griffin Urban, the treasurer of the Polish club. And he asks,
Yes, please.
do you see modern day Russia as more or less dangerous than Russia during the Cold War?
Czy Rosja, która jest dzisiaj, jest bardziej niebezpieczna, która ta kiedyś była w czasie zimnej wojny? Jak pan by je porównał?
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen,
mamy bogate doświadczenia z
we have
Rosją.
very rich experiences with Russia, as I told you.
Zawsze była niebezpieczna, jest i będzie.
Russia was always dangerous, is dangerous, and will be dangerous.
Udało nam się pokonać Związek Sowiecki.
We were able to win with Soviet Union,
Należało iść dalej,
but we were supposed to go much further at that time
zrobić coś z Rosją.
and do something with Russia forever.
I ja chciałem to zrobić, miałem plan.
And I really wanted to get done, and I kind of had a plan.
No ale o tym nie wiecie, ale Ameryka, pani Albright złapała mnie za ręce, powiedziały ani dalej, ani jednego kroku.
But at the same time, Miss Albright from United States, I'm sure you remember her, came to see me and she kind of put my hands, tied my hands together and stopped me from doing certain things that I really wanted to do.
Rozwiązaliśmy Związek Sowiecki i dalej nie można nic zrobić.
Because we dissolved the Soviet Union, but we couldn't go any further.
Bo Związek Radziecki ma straszliwą broń, ale nie w Rosji, tylko w tych republikach.
Because the Soviet Union had all kinds of weapons hidden in smaller republics around its borders and so forth.
Te republiki nawet nie wiedzą, jakie branie u nich jest.
Yeah, and pretty often those small republics were not even aware of kind of weapons were stored there.
Tam da pan wolność tym republikom, oni ktoś nie wiedząc otworzy jakąś wierzchołek, tam drzewa rosną i wychodzą cygary, rakiety.
Yeah, so when he was thinking about giving freedom to those republics back in the day, he was warned by Madame Albright, like, hey, this is going to be very dangerous if those weapons get out of
I
control.
pokazano mi mapy, gdzie to się znajduje.
And actually, he was shown those type of maps back in the day.
I musiałem opuścić ręce dalej nie ruszać się z walką.
And he really had to go and just agree with her and stop doing that.
To już jest 30 ponad lat.
But that's over 30 years ago, right?
Putin popełnił straszliwy błąd.
Putin has made one massive mistake,
Powinniśmy to wykorzystać.
and we should really take advantage of it.
Dwie rzeczy by należało, z dwóch rzeczy jedną co najmniej osiągnąć.
There are at least two goals that we should, at least one we should achieve out of those
Pierwsza,
two goals.
wymusić przez ONZ i przez świat, by takim wielkim narodem nie mógł kierować jedna osoba i
Yes.
wojny robi zagrożenie dla świata.
So politically, as the world, one thing we must do is obviously influence Russia to get rid of the political system when one person rules such an enormous country, correct? And unanimously, basically.
Jeśli to się nie uda,
But if that's not possible,
to musimy zauważyć, że w Rosji jest ponad 60 wielkich republik państw, kiedyś były to państwa.
so now the second thing we need to note is that even today, Russian Federation consists of about 60 different nations.
Rosja zlikwidowała to.
And Russia, when it still existed, got rid of those nations. They got all dissolved, included
Trzeba
in Soviet
odszukać
Union.
i pozwolić na to, żeby te państwa się usamodzielniły.
So we really should take some kind of action to motivate those little countries to start thinking about independence.
Rosję należy zachować gdzieś do 50 milionów ludzi.
Yeah, Russia should be limited in size to about 50 million people or so, which is probably what it should be.
Wtedy będzie bezpieczniejszy świat.
At that point, the world would be a much safer
I
place.
to trzeba wykonać.
So that's the second thing that we could
Oczywiście
achieve,
to jest długa lekcja,
but it's a long lesson.
ale tylko tak zabezpieczymy świat na przyszłość.
But that's the only way to secure peace in the
A
future.
jeśli dziś Ameryka pokonamy Rosję,
But if America thinks we're just going to win with war today,
ale nie zrobimy nic, co Wałęsa mówi,
but we're not going to do all those things that Wałęsa is talking about,
będzie następny będzie Breżniew, Stalin,
we're going to have another
Putin.
Brezhnev or Stalin or Putin in
A
the future.
20 lat i znów się podniosą.
Yeah, 20 years from now, they're going to come back.
Żadne rozwiązanie.
It's not a solution.
Posłuchajcie starego Wałęsy, on wziął się zna na rewolucjach
Yeah. You have listened to old Wałęsa, they're old revolutionary sometimes.
i wykonajmy to.
And let's do it this time.
To nie jest przeciwko Rosji.
It's not against Russia.
Ja bardzo lubię Rosjan,
I like Russian
tylko
people,
są niebezpieczni,
but they're just dangerous.
są za duży
They're too big,
i oni wchłaniają.
and they always suck in other countries.
Ja kiedyś w rozmowie z prezydentem Jelcynem,
So one day when I was talking to President Yeltsin,
wtedy, kiedy kombinowałem wycofać wojska sowieckie.
when I was talking to him about removing Russian forces out of Poland,
Panie prezydencie Jelcyn,
I said, Mr. President Yeltsin,
czy pan wie, jaka sama oddzielna Republika Rosyjska jest piękna?
do you know how Russia would look, how beautiful Russia would be as a standalone country? Just Russia without all those
To tak
republics.
jak piękny ten samochód, jak u was te osobowe piękne są. Ford.
Ford, Cadillac, it would be as
Pięk-
beautiful as a
yeah,
gorgeous Cadillac car.
Cadillac,
Yeah,
Ford.
it would be
Czyli-
beautiful.
To taka jest piękna Rosja.
Russia is so beautiful as a country.
Tylko co pan zrobił? Na ten piękny samochód nakładł pan kanapę, czapca i wie pan.
But what did you do, Mr. Yeltsin? You took all those dirty things and you put on top of this, beautiful car.
Podołączył pan te republiki.
Yeah,
bo jaką
you added
szkodę?
all those different republics to your beautiful country. And how does it look
W
now?
ogóle nie widać Rosji.
I can't even see Russia from
Zwal
here.
pan te kanapy, te
So why don't you
łóżka.
remove all those republics and just have a clean, nice Russia?
A śmiał się tydzień czasu,
He
chodził,
was
że Rosja to ładna, tylko
He
te
was
kanapy.
laughing and we had a bunch of laughs about it. I don't.
Wiedząc o tym wszystkim, no pomyślmy, jak to zrobić, by usamodzielnić te narody.
But knowing that, we truly, honestly have to think about how to make those little nations start thinking about their
To
own
można zrobić, bo
independence.
jedni mają bogactwo i nie mają, więc można podpuścić, żeby się usamodzielniły.
Yeah, there's some ways to achieve that. Some of those countries have natural resources, for example, correct? You can stimulate their economies that way and so forth if you give them some
Będą
guidance.
kłopoty, a nawet wojny będą robić między sobą.
Now, they could be even fighting between each other.
Ale to będą wojenki, a nie wojna.
But those are going to be little local wars, not the massive global war.
Więc posłuchajcie mnie,
So listen, please.
wykonajmy te wielkie zadanie.
Let's make this happen with Russia
To
this time.
pomoże Rosji. Rosja będzie bogaty kraj,
Because at the end of the process, actually the new Russia would be a happier and richer
ale
country.
świat będzie bezpieczny,
And the whole world would be
że
much
się
safer
dobrze
place
rozwija.
and would be growing in the right direction.
Po Europie to widać.
You can actually see that in Europe.
Nie wiem, starsi pamiętają.
The older people would
W tamtym
remember.
czasie, za komuny, to nawet z tych państw porywano samoloty i uciekano na zachód.
Yeah, back in the day, like we used to, steal planes and jump on the plane and, fly across the border just to run away from
Po
communism.
mojej rewolucji ani jednego samolotu nie
And
porwano.
now we removed the borders and we had a revolution. Nobody's stealing planes anymore.
Nikt nie ucieka, nikt nie ucieka.
So there's a proof
A dlaczego? Bo
nobody's running
wyrównywaliśmy poziom rozwoju,
because we equalized the economics
otworzyliśmy granice.
of European Union. We opened up the borders
Można?
and you can do that.
Jest lepiej?
Is it better? Is working better? Of course.
A więc do dzieła następne.
So let's do this with Russia and give me a next question, please.
Okay, all right. So our next question comes from Isabella Hardy, the social chair of the Polish Club.
I'm sorry, can you?
Okay, our next question comes from Isabella Hardy, the social chair of the Polish Club. Okay, and it follows naturally from the earlier one. Do you believe this is the beginning of a new Cold War?
Czy pan uważa, że to jest początek nowej zimnej wojny, co się teraz dzieje w Ukrainie?
Proszę pana, otóż
Okay,
musimy wiedzieć, że świat się rozwija.
we know that the world has changed and moved on.
Popatrzmy znów na Europę. Wy jesteście wielcy, wy nie zauważacie tych małych.
You're so big and you're not seeing those small countries.
Ale poznosiliśmy w Europie granice.
In Europe, again, we removed all the borders in Europe.
Każdy może, jak ma dobry zawód, w każdym państwie
If you have a
pracować.
good, profession, you can work in any country, in any economy,
I to się nazywa globalizacja.
and that is called globalization.
Co dzisiaj by należało zrobić i podpowiadam wam.
So what should we do today?
Paru ludzi powinno usiąść przy okrągłym stole
Oh, we should organize like another round table like we had in Poland
i zrobić listę tematów, które nie mieszczą się w naszych państewkach.
and make a list of subjects and ideas that are just too big for our little countries.
Jakbyśmy zrobili taką listę tematów, które się nie mieszczą,
If you would make that list of
to
those
wtedy byśmy
topics,
podzielili, które zostawiamy tematy mogą być w kontynentach, a które już są globalne.
then we would decide which of those subjects are going to be in continents and globals, in a global scale.
Jak zauważyliśmy, ta choroba to jest globalna, to co
Yeah.
przeżywamy.
As we see what's going on today, it's a global disease in a sense.
Migracja zaczyna być globalna.
The migration is a global problem.
Ale co to za migracja?
But what kind of migration are we talking about?
Migrację poznamy, jak otworzymy Chiny i Indie.
The migration will be actually when we open up India and China borders.
Wtedy będą
That's
migracje.
going to be a true migration.
Dlatego szybko usiądźcie, zróbcie listę tych tematów.
So please sit down quickly and make a list of those subjects and get ready.
Podzielcie na kontynentalne i globalne.
And divide those different subjects and topics between topics that are
Jak już to,
meant to be global or local.
a jak już to zrobicie, to wtedy jak to zrealizować? Jakie
And then you have to
programy,
figure out how to
jakie
develop.
pieniądze, by się przygotować na to?
And you have to get ready with funding, with resources and so
Bo
forth.
jeśli
to
się
attack
nie
those
przygotujecie, to strasznie zapłacimy cenę.
problems. Yeah, because we're going to pay a big price if we're not going to be ready.
I Stany największą, bo wy
And of
odpowiadacie
course, United
jako
States will
potęga.
always pay the biggest price as the biggest economy in the
I
world.
albo chcecie przewodzić, albo oddajcie to Polsce, my będziemy wiedzieli, co z tym zrobić.
So if you really want to be a leader, be a leader. If not, give us the leadership and we'll take care of the problem. In Poland, yeah.
Następne.
Next question, please. Panie Daniel, może wodę dla
Co?
soczek może?
No,
keep
no
going?
roboty.
Okay, great.
Okay, all
He's
right.
ready to go.
I'll follow your goose. Okay.
Okay.
Our next question is also
Co to?
Następne pytanie.
our next question also connects the Cold War with the current moment.
Znowu mówimy o zimnej wojnie i porównaniu zimna wojna do
A,
dzisiaj.
To,
Okay.
to jest niemożliwe. To jest nie czas.
Ale jeszcze nie skończę.
Tak.
Okay.
Okay, so- And this one comes from Misha Simonowski, who is the marketing chair for the Polish Club.
Misza Sajmonowski napisał. Misza Sajmonowski to pytanie, on jest z marketingu w tym klubie tutaj.
I will insert an editorial comment as speaking on behalf of the marketing chair. Misha, I think, encourages all of you to buy those books afterwards and support the Polish Club,
That's
right?
right.
Okay.
Nie, mówi, że te książki pana trzeba
Okay.
kupować, albumy, które są na zewnątrz.
A,
No to kupię.
I will add, if I can offer a personal note here, and I think President Walesa will appreciate this. Misha is a Ukrainian by birth
Misza jest
who
Ukraińcem, urodzonym w Ukrainie.
migrated to the United States just a few years ago.
Przyjechał tylko kilka lat temu do Ameryki z Ukrainy.
And I'm quite confident in saying is the newest American in the room because he just became an American citizen about a month ago. So
Oj,
it's
Misza
right here.
jest
So
to obywatelstwo amerykańskie, ten Misza, który tutaj jest studentem. właśnie.
Okay.
To jest ten tutaj, który się przedstawia. On to pytanie napisał dla pana. Teraz będzie pytanie za chwilkę.
The final personal note is he's currently a student in my class and he knows that the final paper is due tomorrow. And so I know later tonight he'll be going home to work on
Jest
that. Yeah.
studentem, ten jest studentem u tego profesora i na jutro ma pracę domową zrobić. Ja jeszcze nie zrobił, ale mi jutro oceni. Zobaczymy jak wyjdzie.
With that lengthy lead in, here is the question. All right.
Teraz
So
dopiero pytanie
all right.
przy długim wstępie.
what can the solidarity movement teach the Ukrainian people about how to beat Russia?
Okej, so jak Solidarność może nauczyć Ukraińców? Co z Solidarności Ukraińcy mogą się nauczyć, żeby pobić Rosję? Jaką lekcję?
No, gdybym miał odpowiedź na to pytanie, bym miał następnego Nobla.
Okay, if I would answer that question, the Ukraine should get, if I had an answer to this question, I would probably get a next Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't have an answer.
Na takie pytania i podobne nie ma odpowiedzi dobrych,
For those type of questions, there are no good answers
bo to jest zbyt skomplikowane
because
i
it's
za
too
dużo
complicated
możliwości.
and there's just too many choices.
I dlatego ja lubię tylko mówić to, co jestem przekonany,
But
w
I
co
only,
wierzę.
but I only can tell people what I believe in. If I don't believe in something, I'm not going to give you that advice or convince you that advice.
I stąd to, co było możliwe za Stalina, za Breżniewa, to jest niemożliwe dziś.
Yeah, so those things that we were doing back then, or Stalin or Brezhnev and otherwise, some of those things are not possible today
To są inne czasy.
because the times are so
Do
different.
końca XX wieku były interesy państwa, kraje.
Again, as I said earlier, until the end of the 20th century, the entire world was just evolving around countries and nations.
Robiliśmy wojny, podjazdy, oszustwa dla państwa, dla
Yeah,
kraju.
everything was done for the country. All the wars and all the efforts and all the stealing and luring, it was all done for the benefit of one country.
Technologia wymusiła nas, że koniec państwa to za mało.
But the technology again took us beyond that. So
I
it's a very
dlatego
different
to są
world.
inne interesy.
So it's a different business, different world.
I
we
to
live in.
prawie w każdej dziedzinie.
Yeah, in all areas. So as far as Pani
Dla,
Prezydencie, jeżeli
dla
chodzi-
mojego ojca, mojego dziadka, patriotyzm to był bić Sowieta, bić Niemca.
Yeah, for like my grandfather, who was a patriot, like, you know, his main goal was just to fight Germans and Russians,
I to był interes.
and that was his business.
A mój
basically.
interes jest kochać Niemca, kochać
And
Sowieta.
my business today is to love Germans and love Russians.
Jak daleko zmieniają się epoki
How you can see how quickly the world is evolving
i
around us.
interesy.
And the business, correct? And the purpose of
I
the
dlatego
business.
trzeba zawsze rozumować w czasie i w epoce.
So you have to analyze those questions within your current context.
Oczywiście znów dla mnie, dla rewolucjonisty jest takie pytanie, czy ile sobie guzów nabijemy, ile krwi upuścimy, żeby wejść na mądrą drogę.
Yeah, so the big question for me as a revolutionary is how many goosebumps I'm going to have. I mean, how many bumps I'm going to hit in my head and how much blood I'm going to lose to get on the right path. What's the cost?
Ktoś udowadnia na YouTube, na telewizji, sprawdźcie, że już taki rozwój jak my, dużo nawet większy już był na tej ziemi.
Yeah, people are proving that, you know, before our times, there were other civilizations in the world that were probably even more advanced than we were
Piramidy
today,
budowano nie wiemy jak.
and so forth. Look at Egypt and other
I
places.
wiele technologii jest lepszych od naszych dzisiaj.
Yeah, so there might be all kinds of other
I
technologies,
ktoś to
available,
zniszczył.
but somebody destroyed it at some point in the
Dla mnie jest
past,
pytanie, czy my
probably.
też zniszczymy
So the
naszą
question is, are we going
cywilizację?
to do the same with our civilization? Are we going to destroy it as
I
well?
parę tysięcy lat nie będzie tu życia, przyszło nam Adama i Ewę i od nowa
Yeah,
zaczniemy.
in a few thousand years from now, there's going to be no life here. They're going to send us Adam and Eve, and we're going to start again.
Może tak.
Maybe that's the
Ja nie,
answer.
ja nie wykluczam
I'm
niczego.
not sure if that's going to happen or
Ale
not.
myślę, że mamy tyle doświadczeń, że teraz powinniśmy mądrzejsze wnioski wyciągnąć.
But I just think that we should be arriving at better conclusions today based on our experiences.
Zaczęliśmy pod zwycięstwem Solidarności nową epokę,
So yeah, after solidarity was again like the start of new age for us.
ale została Rosja,
But the Russians still remain.
Została
Russia
Chiny.
remained. China still remains.
którzy jeszcze myślą po staremu.
And they're still thinking their own way.
I teraz co wygra? Stare czy nasze
But
nowe?
what's gonna win? Our new world or their old world?
Stąd ja mówiłem na początku tego
So at the
konfliktu z
beginning
Ukrainą.
of this evening, I was
Wy
talking
źle
about it.
rozmawiacie z Putinem.
You're talking to Putin incorrectly.
Upoważnijcie jednego człowieka.
You should just like authorize one person to go and talk with
Weźcie
Putin.
mnie za doradcę.
You can take me as an advisor.
Usiądziemy do stołu z Putinem.
We're going to sit down at the table with Putin
Powiemy, koleś,
and we're going to listen,
ty
dude.
masz czołgi i rakiety
You have tanks and
i
rockets
ty nas straszysz.
and you're threatening us.
Czy ty chcesz zobaczyć nasze
Do
rakiety?
you want to see our tanks and our rockets?
Człowieku nie zmuszaj nas, żebyśmy się przydzwonili,
Don't pressure us that way
bo my nie chcemy.
because we really don't want to.
Chcesz zginąć?
Do you really want to die?
My nie chcemy.
We don't want to.
I dlatego my pokojowo budujemy, a nie rozwalamy.
Yeah, and you guys are just going and talking peacefully to him.
Nie
You have to
zmuszaj
threaten
nas,
him.
żebyśmy
We
zawalczyli
have to
twoimi
tell him. We have
metodami,
to tell him that
bo nie masz szans.
we don't want to deal with him with
I
his own
gdybyście mu
methods.
pokazali, że nie ma szans,
Yeah, we have to show him that he has
no
no
to
chances to
musiałby
win.
wyciągnąć
At
wnioski.
the end of the world, he would come to his
A
own
wy jakieś
conclusions.
dyplomacje, jakieś gadki urządzacie, to bez
But
sensu.
we're playing all that diplomacy games for
A
months
on
and
nas
games, and
straszy.
it doesn't make any sense.
A-
In the meantime, he's threatening
A
us.
zobaczcie, Ukraina sobie z nim radzi przy waszej broni i innych.
Yeah, and Ukraine, while you're doing all the democracy talk,
Co
I mean
to za
diplomatic
potęga?
talk,
Co to za potęga?
Ukraine, which is not a really huge country, is
Tylko, że
managing the
tylko
war.
wy gracie w szachy, a on w boksie.
Yeah, like you play chess and he's playing box.
No nie da się wygrać, no bo to są dwie różne gry.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different sports. so
Czas
you
zejść
can't
na jedną
match.
grę. Trzeba wybrać jedną grę.
Yeah, you have to pick one
Albo
game you want to
szachy,
play,
albo boks.
either chess or box,
Bo tak się nigdy nie
because
dogadamy.
otherwise you're never going to reach
I
an
tu jest
agreement
cały
with them.
problem.
That's part of the problem, that you're
Następny.
playing different games. Next question,
Okay.
please.
Our next question comes from Błażej Koszonczek, the Polish language chair.
Okay, to jest jakiś student, który się uczy polskiego tutaj.
Powinniście się wszystkie nauczyć, to by było bez
He's saying
tłumaczenia.
that all the students should be learning Polish, we would need a translator like me.
Okay.
Albo ja angielskiego, ale za
Or maybe
późno.
he should learn English.
Yeah,
Za
okay.
późno.
It's too late, he said.
Okay. Here's the question. If you could give President Zelensky one piece of advice, what would it be and why?
Jakby pan miał dać prezydentowi Zeleńskiemu jedną radę, jaka to była rada? Jedną, jedyną.
Przyjmij Wałęsę na doradcę.
Hire Wałęsa as an advisor, this one.
I to zaproponowałem.
And actually, I proposed it to him.
Zaproponowałem mu pomysł, że słuchaj, musisz ściągnąć różnych ludzi do siebie.
He actually called him and he gave him an idea. You just have to invite different type of thinkers to your
I
place.
zgłosiłem się, że jestem gotów jechać
He
do
said, I'm
ciebie,
ready to go to Kiev
ale
and
jako
come to
pomysł
see you.
zgłosiłem.
But this was an idea.
Zgromadź noblistów,
Get some Nobel Prize winners,
grupę noblistów,
a
grupę generałów,
group of all retired
grupę
generals,
profesorów.
professors.
I obok, i tylko się pyta, słuchajcie, co zrobić w tej sytuacji?
Okay, what should I do now?
Takie coś zgłosiłem, ale nie podjęto.
But he didn't like my idea, so he didn't go forward.
I zostałem na lodzie. No.
So I'm just here.
Jechać, no nie, bo nie mogę jechać, bo nie będę z pistoletem biegał, bo jestem za stary.
Yeah, I can't go and take a gun and fight in Ukraine. I'm just too old for that.
Więc zgłaszam pomysły, no ale no
So I'm
właśnie.
giving him ideas, but he didn't take
Może
them.
tam coś zaczyna kombinować w tym kierunku, ale to spóźnione jest.
But now he might be looking at it again.
Bo ja mu potrzeba dopomóc, nie żeby się mu wtrącać, tylko trzeba, żeby mu pokazywać różne punkty widzenia.
So what he thinks Zelensky really needs is he just needs support, and he doesn't need people to tell him what to do. He knows what he's doing. He just needs support.
Organizacyjnie pokazać, że jesteśmy solidarni w różnych
Yeah.
grupach.
And of course, show him that solidarity from that we are all with Ukraine.
No, ale on prowadzi walkę, słuchajmy go, pomagajmy mu.
Yeah, because he's leading the fight, we should listen to him and we should only help him.
Na razie, co byście nie powiedzieli, ładnie walczy.
And as far as we're concerned, he's running a really great battle,
Oby wytrwało.
and we hope he's going to survive.
A wytrwa, jeśli będziemy wspierać go.
And if he's persistent, we should continue
Ale nie
supporting
tylko
him.
pokonać Rosję i tam trochę je zniżyć, tylko zrobić coś porządek
But
wreszcie.
again, as I said earlier, it's not only just this little war, let's call it, and small victory of Russia. We really need to,
W tych
do what I
dwóch,
was
w tych
talking
dwóch
about
kierunkach,
before.
o którym tu mówiłem Państwu.
yeah, those two different ideas that I was
A
talking
jak
about
macie
earlier.
lepszy pomysł, to powiedzcie.
And if you have a better idea, let me know right away. Next
Następne.
question, please.
Okay, great. All right. The next
Can you
question.
just give me 1 second? I need a
Oh,
sip
yes,
of
yes,
water,
okay.
sorry.
I gotta say, Pavel is doing a remarkable job with this.
No, this is my first time translating, guys, so thank you. And he's my hero, correct? So it's like my voice is trembling and it's even harder.
A ja mimo swojego wieku jestem niepokonany.
Oh yeah, he's saying he's older than me and he's doing a better job. I said, I agree. He's not drinking, I'm already thirsty. So.
Okay, okay, all right, so,
Ale dlatego, że prowadzę higieniczny tryb życia. Dlatego, że prowadzę higieniczny tryb życia.
He's saying is because he's living a hygienic life.
20 godzina, 21 godzina wieczorem, myję rączki, paciorek, siusiu i spać.
He said 9 p.m. he's washing his hands, he's going to pee, he's praying, and he goes to sleep. Very direct, correct? As always. I'm sorry, next question,
Okay.
please.
Our next question also follows on what you had mentioned about outside support for President Zelensky.
Okay, następne pytanie jest związane oczywiście znowu z popieraniem Zaleńskiego przez ludzi z zewnątrz.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this also involves history. Tell us a little bit more about how important the support when you were leading Solidarity was that you received from Pope John Paul II, President Reagan, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher.
Okej, to pytanie jest takie, jak ważna pomoc, którą pan otrzymał w czasie rządzenia Solidarnością od papieża, od Thatcher, od Reagana, jak to było naprawdę ważne, realnie.
Proszę Państwa, znów należy zrozumieć tamte czasy.
So again, we need to go back and understand those times.
Po wielu lat komunizmu dochodziliśmy w różnych miejscach do podobnych pomysłów.
Yeah, so because communism was all over the world for a long time and people were coming to the same conclusions.
Nawet ktoś napisał książkę, że to była zmowa, spisek.
Somebody was even writing a book that this was like some kind of conspiracy.
Każdy robił swoje, ale to wszystko szło w tym samym kierunku.
Yeah, so are you saying different people in different parts of communism were kind of fighting the same battle, but it was differently, but it was going the same direction?
Prezydent Reagan robił swoje,
Reagan was doing his own thing.
pani Thatcher swoje,
Thatcher was doing his own thing for sure.
papież swoje,
And Pope as well.
Wałęsa swoje.
And Wałęsa too.
Ale to się wszystko składało na walkę z
But it was all just, to fight with communism.
Wygraliśmy dlatego, że podobnie myśleliśmy, ale robiliśmy swoje, udało się zwycięstwo i to wyglądało na solidarność, zmówienie, a to nie było zmówienie.
So he said a lot of people were accusing, now I understand what he was trying to say. So he was saying that a lot of people were calling this like a conspiracy between Pope, Thatcher, Reagan, Wałęsa. And he said, no, they were all doing their own thing, but there was solidarity together, correct? And that's why they won. So that's why that support was important.
Tylko ja za bardzo wierzyłem w demokrację, więc mówię, to już teraz możemy skończyć jakimś tam podobnym myśleniem, każdy robi swoje.
Yeah, I was believing too much. Back in the day, I was believing much into like a classical democracy model, let's say. And now I realize people should just be allowed to do their own thing.
No i to nie wyszło dobrze, jak widzimy.
And as you can see, some of the things didn't come out
Ale
perfectly.
widząc, co się dzieje, próbowałem założyć związki zawodowe prezydentów, premierów.
But by the way, actually knowing what's happening, some time ago I had an idea to organize like a union of retired politicians, prime ministers and
Nawet
presidents.
się zgadzali.
And some of them actually liked that
Reagan
idea.
i potem Bush zgadzał się, że dobrze, powołajmy.
Yeah, Reagan, Bush and others.
Ale tylko był problem, kto ma być przewodniczący.
But the biggest problem was who's going to be the chairman of that union.
I o to się rozbiliśmy.
And that's how the whole idea has fallen apart.
Następny.
Next question, please.
Okay, sure, right. Do you believe that this is the beginning of a new, more positive Poland-Ukraine relationship?
Czy pan uważa, że teraz stosunki między Polską a Ukrainą w przyszłości będą o wiele lepsze niż kiedyś były, po tym, co się stało teraz?
Wciąż Państwu mówię, że to są inne czasy otwarcia, nie wojowania.
Okay, so he's saying that again, we're living different worlds, so people just don't want to fight anymore. They want to collaborate.
Różne narody wojowały,
Yeah, we're fighting too long
ale
between
to się
nations.
wtedy opłacało.
Yeah,
Dla
people could,
interesu państwa.
because
dla
people
kraju.
could money and had profits from it, for their own countries.
Technologia wymusiła nam zdjąć bariery.
And again, technology proved us that we need to remove all those borders. So we need to
Otworzyć
be together,
granice
correct? So
Dla
like
samolotów, dla
in the
internetu
future, we need to have internet and connections and
i,
free
i,
borders,
i następnych
remove
tematów.
borders.
Więc już
new
wojowanie
ideas.
się nie opłaca w żadnym wypadku.
So of course, like, going back to history between Poland and Ukraine and fighting with each other, whatever, just doesn't make any sense in the future
Tylko jest
whatsoever.
początek tej nowej epoki.
It was just the beginning of this new
Jeszcze
era.
stare, pamiętam, wychowano nas na starej szkole.
Yeah, but I was going to a very old school and I was taught very differently.
I dlatego dzisiaj politycy w dalszym ciągu myślą, jeśli chodzi o geografię, to okręgami wyborczymi.
Yeah, like politicians are thinking about elections today. They're still thinking about okręgi wyborcze. Yeah, voting districts. Thank you.
Myślą kadencjami.
They're only thinking about their own term.
Stąd nie ma polityków z wizji, tylko w
So that's
telewizji.
why we have no politicians with vision, because that creates their limits.
I dlatego musimy to zmienić też.
We need to change that as well.
Ale to tu początek epoki.
But again, that's the beginning of the
Potrzebujemy
change.
przewodzenia
And
stanu.
we need new leadership.
W nowym stylu mówiłem.
And the same thing I'm going
Nie
back to
dolary,
leadership
nie
of the United
robota za
States.
cały świat.
Yep.
Organizowanie do tematów.
We need to organize those
Jeśli
discussions.
mamy Ukrainę i problem, zorganizować świat do tego tematu.
Yeah, we need to organize the world around that problem.
Znaleźć
of
odpowiedzi na
Ukraine
te 3 problemy, które postawiłem
And the
jako
three questions that I
rewolucjonista.
was asking earlier.
A więc jaki fundament przyszłości?
Again, what's the
Czy-
foundation of those
Czy
relations in the
wolności, czy
future?
pierwsze wartości?
And the freedom between
Jaki
those
system
countries in the
ekonomiczny
future?
pod
What's the
tą
economic
nowość?
system?
I jak poradzić sobie z demagogią, populizmem?
And how to deal with populism and demagogues?
Na razie demagodzy, populiści mają górę.
So far, demagogues and
To,
populists
co
are
się w
winning.
świecie dzieje, to populiści zwyciężają.
Yeah, the populists are winning in most places.
Ale dlatego, że reszta nie jest aktywna.
Because the rest of the society is not
Nie
active
staje do
enough and
konfrontacji.
they're not confronting them.
I dlatego oni na razie przewodzą.
And that's why they're leading.
I
right
dla mnie jest
now.
pytanie, czy podpalą świat, czy jednak nie
So
damy
the
im?
big question is, are they going to burn the world or we're not going to allow them to do
A nie
that?
damy przez aktywność ludzi mądrych,
But we're not going to allow them when smart
przez,
people are going to
przez
become
walkę na
active
argumenty,
with arguments and
że,
fights
że Putin nie ma racji,
because Putin is wrong.
że on niszczy, pali, morduje,
He's just murdering and burning everything.
a my nie chcemy tego.
And we don't want it.
My chcemy interesy,
We really want to do business.
my chcemy bezpiecznie żyć.
We want to live
I
peacefully.
albo damy jemu wygrać, będzie nas mordował, albo
Yeah, either he's going to keep murdering us or we're going to win.
no,
period.
to jest wyzwanie na dziś.
Yeah, it's still a challenge.
I to nie jest nic za ciężkie.
It's not too difficult.
Pan Bóg daje krzyż na miarę wielkości.
God is giving people a cross based on the size of the person.
Nas Pan Bóg docenił, dał nam taki krzyż.
Yeah, he admired us, so he gave us a certain size of cross.
Bierzmy się do roboty.
So let's get to work.
Tylko na mnie nie liczcie, bo mam 8 dych już.
But don't count on me because I said I'm really old.
Szkoda. No.
I'm sorry. Next.
Następne.
Następne pytanie?
Tak.
Tak, next question, please.
Okay, all right. This question also draws on the previous one. Why do you think since World War II, okay, okay, yeah, why do you think that since World War II, Germany has reformed and modernized, whereas Russia still seems to be stuck in the old ways?
Dlaczego pan uważa, że po II wojnie światowej Niemcy się zmodernizowały, a Rosja nie? Po II wojnie światowej. Proste.
To dość proste. No.
It's very simple, yes?
Nie, jednak Rosja nigdy, tam nie było nigdy demokracji.
Because they never had democracy there.
Tam zawsze rządzono strachem.
They always ruled with fear.
Potrzebowali wrogów, żeby
They
utrzymać
needed
się.
enemies to organize.
Wymyśleli Amerykanów,
Yeah, like
Niemców.
United States or Germany, they always
Czeczeńców.
needed some kind of
Bo
enemy,
to jest
Chechens,
filozofia trzymania władzy.
because that's their philosophy
I
of holding on to power.
Wylecieć jest nieprosto.
And it's extremely difficult to cure people out of
Pewne
that
procesy
type
trzeba
of,
przeżyć.
and they have to just live through it.
I znów, ja jestem praktykiem w każdej dziedzinie.
I'm very practical in a lot of areas.
Dlatego zwyciężę.
That's why I was winning.
A praktycznie jaką rzecz chciałbym Państwu pokazać?
Okay, I want to show you something.
Jak wiecie, ja z
practical.
moją żoną mam 8 dzieci.
As you know, with my wife, I have 8 kids.
I kiedy te dzieci mi dorastały,
And when the kids were growing up,
to każdemu po kolei mówiłem, słuchaj, nie dotykaj do kuchenki gazowej paluszkiem, bo się sparzysz.
don't touch the cooking oven because you're going to burn your finger. I was
Czy,
telling my kids.
czy wiecie Państwo, że żadnego nie uratowałem? Każdy się sparzy.
So all my 8 kids actually were touching the oven and burned their fingers.
Tylko mocniej, słabiej, ale się musiał spać.
Some of them were burned more, some of them were
I
burned
dziś jest
less.
spokój, nie muszę nic mówić, wiedzą, nie
But
dotykaj.
now they're grown up, I don't have to talk about it
A
anymore.
więc w skali społecznej musimy przeżyć to
But the
wszystko.
sociological problems are almost kind of the same. We just have to live through it sometimes.
I niektórzy mogą przeskoczyć od razu dwie klasy w szkole,
Some people can jump 2 classes in college and move ahead, some people cannot.
a masy muszą przechodzić po kolei.
But masses, in
To samo w
totality,
tych
need to just move
doświadczeniach.
slowly, the same with
Można
experiences.
szybciej przy dobrych nauczycielach,
Sometimes you can move faster in school with your great teachers.
ale tylko trochę skrócić.
Sometimes you can shorten your education a
Znaleźliśmy
little
się
bit.
między epokami, w epoce słowa, dyskusji, jak świat ma wyglądać.
So we're again in the era of discussion and word.
Dyskutujcie wszędzie, gdzie to możliwe,
Just keep talking, guys. Keep
Ab-
discussing
abyśmy
things.
wpadli na taką sytuację, jak mieliśmy za
So
Solidarnością.
you can arrive in the same kind of situations we get banked during
W
solidarity.
różnych miejscach podobnie myśleliśmy.
That in different places around the world, people are actually thinking similarly.
I to się złożyło na zwycięstwo.
And that what gave us the power
Teraz
to
trzeba
win.
przyspieszyć tego typu dyskusje, nie
just-
50 lat, ale
We
przyspieszyć,
just need to accelerate those discussions, not 50 years,
abyśmy
but
podobnie zaczęli myśleć,
so we can all start thinking
podobnie
similarly in
widzieć
some
szanse i
areas.
zagrożenia.
And see the same fears or
Praktycznie
threats.
inaczej nie da się.
Yeah, otherwise we can't move forward.
Dziś politycy, wszyscy ludzie dzielą się na dwie kategorie.
Today, politicians are divided into 2 categories.
Na teoretyków i praktyków.
The theoreticians and and people who practice
Wielcy,
politics.
mądrzy ludzie, od Marksa, Lenina
Yeah,
poczynając.
all the smart people from Marx and Lenin.
Strasznie oczytani, mądrzy.
Yeah, very smart. And
Ale co wymyślili?
what did they develop?
Tylko mimo, że tam dobre niektóre pomysły są.
Yeah, there were some good ideas there in
Ale
those
tak
systems.
daleko teoretycznie tego się nie da zrealizować.
But those were theoreticians, and those things would never
W
work in
tamtym
practical
czasie
world.
teoretycy mi mówili, Wałęsa, nie masz szans.
So back in the day, the theoreticians telling me, Wałęsa, you have no chance with your
Sowieci nie
ideas.
pozwolą.
The Russians will never allow you to get where you
Tylko
want to
wojna
get.
atomowa może to
You're only going to end up with an
Ja
atomic
wiem
war.
co? Musi
war.
być jakaś
He
możliwość.
said there's got to be some kind of solution.
Udowodniłem.
And we've proven that there could
przez
be
praktyczne myślenie.
because you were
Ja
thinking
nie mam nic
practically.
przeciwko mądrości.
I said, I'm not against wisdom.
Trzeba korzystać,
I want to continue using
ale do
wisdom,
praktycznych osiągnięć przez mądrość.
but through practical approach, you get to wisdom. I
A
don't
nie
know how to translate
odwrotnie.
that. I'm getting
Nie
lost.
odwrotnie, dlatego
Yeah.
że te mądre pomysły są nie do zrealizowania.
Yeah, but some of those ideas are impossible to
Praktyczne
develop.
są przy dołożeniu mądrości.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, panie prezydencie, może jeszcze jedno pytanie tylko, tak?
Ja tu
Okay,
sprzątam.
jeszcze jedno. One more question.
One more question. Okay, all right. So,
We're getting to almost the end.
all right, because we do need to allow time for the books and the.
Tak ostatnio, tak źle wyglądam, że ostatnie co jest?
On mówi, do I look that bad that it's the last question? Yeah.
Okay. Should the EU, should the European Union and NATO invite Ukraine to become a member of EU?
Czy NATO i Unia Europejska powinna przyjąć Ukrainę natychmiast? Do NATO i do Unii Europejskiej.
Bardziej pasuje do NATO niż do Unii.
He's saying Ukraine fits more to NATO than European Union, right?
Biją się ładnie, odważni są,
They're very they're fighting great. They're very brave
więc
people.
do NATO pasuje.
They fit to NATO perfectly.
Do Unii trochę gorzej, bo tam trzeba te ceny, te różne
Yeah, with
zapłaty.
Union, it's much more difficult because you got to adjust the economy and so
I tam
forth.
oni nie bardzo pasują, Unia bardziej pasuje im, a oni nie bardzo.
Yeah, they're not ready for European Union.
Muszą porobić trochę porządku
They need to make
ekonomicznego.
some adjustments and clean up some of their rules
Więc
and
chcemy
laws.
ich, przyjmiemy
Of course
ich,
we want them in the
ale na
European
razie dla nich
Union.
się to nie opłaca.
But it's going to be very costly for them if they would join
Oni
today
by szybko zrezygnowali, by nie wytrzymali tempa
because they would
unijnego.
not be able to keep up in the speed of reforms and so forth. And it would be
Pomyślmy
very
ich,
costly.
przyjmiemy ich, pomóżmy im, przyjmiemy do Unii, ale do NATO możemy już przyjąć.
Yeah, so he said with Union, European Union, we have to wait again because it's going to take a longer time, would be too much pressure. But as far as NATO is concerned, just look at them, how they're fighting. We should allow them in now.
Też o tym nie wiecie, że moja kombinacja w tamtym czasie była taka. Tylko razem Polska wchodzi razem z Ukrainą i z Białorusią do NATO i do Unii.
Oh, he wants to tell you a little secret. Back in the day where he was working on the application for Poland to join NATO, he had a vision that Poland should not be joining NATO alone. It should be joining NATO with Belarus and Ukraine together
Gdzie
in like a
błąd popełniłem?
tri-country.
Gdzie błąd popełniłem?
And he said he made a mistake.
Polskę, Węgry, Unię mówiłem publicznie, że
Yeah.
wchodzimy i tak dalej.
So he said, like, when he was promoting Poland or Hungary and Romania to go to NATO, they were doing this publicly, correct? The
Ukrainę, Białoruś
negotiations.
robiłem potajemnie.
But Ukraine and Belarus, they were doing this kind of under the table,
I to chyba był błąd.
and this was a big mistake.
Gdybym był postawił tak ostro, jak postawiłem Polskę, to by się udało.
Because if he would really push harder for this, maybe this could have been done back in the day.
Także mam wyrzuty sumienia.
So he has a little,
Powiedziałem, robiłem,
regrets. Thank you.
ale właśnie, dlaczego nie wyszło? Bo ja liczyłem, że w drugiej kadencji to załatwi prezydencję.
Yeah, so like I just didn't get to this, and I was also hoping I'm going to get it during my second term as a president, which I didn't
I
get.
przegrałem kadencję.
I lost the elections and I didn't get a second term.
Ale przegrałem trochę i przy waszej pomocy.
But I think I also lost with your help too.
Przyjeżdżałem do was, mówiłem, potrzebuję waszych generałów.
Because I was coming to US and said, I need your generals here.
General Motors, General Electric.
I need General Motors and General Electric.
A co wy mi daliście? Sierżantów.
Okay, and you were sending me some surgeons.
Przegrałem ekonomicznie, bo miało być lepiej, a nie było
It
lepiej.
was
tak na
supposed to be
początku.
better immediately in Poland. The economy was supposed to improve, and it was not getting better right away.
No taka jest
So
prawda.
that's the way it works.
Szanowni Państwo, całą noc byśmy mogli
Ladies and gentlemen,
dyskutować.
I could talk all night, but I have to finish.
Wiele tematów nie poruszyliśmy,
We didn't touch a lot of subjects tonight,
ale z nadzieją, że mnie jeszcze kiedyś zaprosicie.
but hopefully you can still invite me back again in the future,
Wtedy będziemy kontynuować.
and we can continue on. Thank you
A
so
teraz-
much.
Teraz proszę was na koniec.
Okay.
Proszę was na koniec.
Now at the end, I want to request.
Świat jest naprawdę piękny.
The world is honestly beautiful place.
Jeżdżę po świecie, to ja to widzę.
I travel the whole world,
Tylko świat wymaga sterowania,
but the world truly needs some guidance,
przewodzenia mądrego.
some leadership.
No los wam dał supermocarstwo.
So unfortunately, you inherited or created the biggest, the
No
strongest
wiesz,
country in the world. So,
Odzyskajcie
so
przewodzenie stanu.
please take advantage of it, and please give America
To
this
jest
leadership
niezbędnie
role in the
światu
back again,
potrzebne.
because the whole world needs you.
No bo jak coś się źle stanie, to będzie wasza wina, bo to wy macie odpowiedzialność.
Yeah, because if something bad happens, now it's going to be your fault in the future because you truly have the responsibility and the capability.
To była moja i Solidarności rewolucja, by ten świat był mądrzejszy,
So I'm
lepszy.
really hoping the world's going to be a better place because of my revolution.
I mamy szansę na
And
to.
we have a chance for that.
No ale musicie wziąć się do roboty.
But you need to get going and get to work.
Głęboko
Okay.
wierzę, że się uda.
I hope it's going to happen. Thank you.
Niech nam Pan Bóg pomoże.
Let God help us. Thank you.
Okay, that's right. And now, President Nathan, where will the photo line and the books be? Yeah, okay.
The photo line will be outside. The books are available right over there. And then we're going to have a line with ropes. So for photos with President Walesa. Thank you.